All right, this is my audience. How many of you have heard of the Paisa Robin Hood? How about El Patron?
Yes.
How about the King of Cocaine?
Yes.
I have.
All right, these are all aliases for Pablo Escobar, one of the most notorious drug dealers of our time. According to Britannica, he was worth $25 to $30 billion at the time of his death, but this fortune came at the expense of the thousands of people that he had killed through various shootings and bombings, but he was still very loved by the people of Medellin. Today, I'm going to give you some more information about the life and death of Pablo Escobar, and by the end, you'll know what he did with his time and money and why he made such a positive impact. So now that I've given you a general idea of what I'm going to be talking about, I'm just going to jump right into it. In 1949, Pablo was born in Rio Negro, Colombia, with 6 siblings and a pair of loving parents, and soon after they moved to Medellin. After he moved to Medellin, him and his cousin Gustavo Gaviria became very good friends with Mario Henao, and by the time they were teenagers, they became criminals. They were selling fake diplomas, stealing cars, smuggling sound equipment, and stealing aluminum tombstones to sell them. This type of petty crime got them noticed by El Padrino, or the Colombian Godfather, and they began to work for him as hitmen and bodyguards. When they proved their worth, he sent them on a mission to buy coca paste, which is the main ingredient in cocaine, and this is what got their foot in the door of the world of drug trafficking. And it also got them their connections that helped them to start the Medellin cartel. The cartel was run very structurally and had a strong sense of hierarchy, and Pablo ruled it with an iron fist. He imposed a law called the Plata or Plomo law, meaning silver or lead, money or death. And when people just chose death, he resorted to terrorism. So now that you know how he ran the cartel, I'm going to tell you about the beginning of the end. After he became rich off of selling the drugs, he decided he wanted more and he wanted to join politics. He began surrounding himself with lawyers, businessmen, politicians, and people that he deemed legitimate and thought that would make his image better. While he was doing this, he was also giving back to Colombia and building houses and hospitals and stadiums for the people that are less fortunate, and this is what earned him the nickname the Paisa Robin Hood. While he was giving back to the people of Colombia, he was also living in excess. He bought a $62 million resort called Hacienda Nápoles, and while he was doing these donations and surrounding himself with these people, this is what made people decide to elect him to the parliament in 1982. After his election, the justice minister decided to investigate where he got his money from and how he became elected. And he found that the money came from drug smuggling, and he exposed that to the general public, and Pablo did not like that and began to slander his name, and when that didn't work, he had him assassinated. A different cartel, the Cali cartel, thought that the minister's assassination was unnecessary and waged war on Medellin. And the government decided to legalize extradition to the United States in an effort to make them stop all the violence that they were doing, and they issued arrest warrants for all of the key members of the Medellin cartel. So now that you know the beginning, I'm going to tell you about the end. The government tried to stop the war with the Cali cartel, but Medellin wanted full pardons, and the government would not oblige. So they responded with more assassinations, including the assassination of presidential candidate Luis Galan. After this assassination, Colombia declared war on all the narcos and made an elite group of police officers that their entire purpose was to catch narco-terrorists. These officers had 450 raids and 13,000 drug-related arrests. The cartels responded with more death, and the elites responded with a raid that captured 55 high-level hitmen and 3 key associates in the Medellin cartel. Pablo responded by kidnapping the family of the president and would only let them go when Colombia agreed to begin negotiations. He didn't get what he wanted out of the negotiations, so he put money on the head of every single cop that was involved in capturing narco-terrorists. The cops responded by executing killings in the slums every night. So Pablo decided that they should have a truce. And President Gaviria wanted to end the conflict, but the elites decided that they needed to fight violence with violence, and they killed Gustavo Gaviria, Pablo's cousin. Pablo was very famously quoted saying that he would rather be in a Colombian grave than an American prison. So the government began negotiating by saying if he gave an admission of guilt and voluntarily surrendered, that he could serve out his sentence in a Colombian jail and they wouldn't extradite him. But he declined those offers. He then began kidnapping people, bombing like train stations and stores, and assassinating politicians until the government gave in. When the government gave in, Pablo left running the Medellin cartel to two of his hidden associates, Kiko Moncada and Fernando Galeano, so he could go serve his prison sentence at La Catedral. La Catedral is a prison of Pablo's own making, which was one of the terms of his surrender. And the prison can only be described as a 5-star hotel that got visits from celebrities, models, athletes, and his family. After a while, Pablo began to think that Kiko and Galeano were stealing from him, so when they came to visit him at La Catedral, he tortured them and murdered them. The government found out about this and tried to move him to a real prison, one that was run by the Colombian government. And on the night that they raided the prison, he escaped and spent 17 months on the run while the elites hunted down all of his associates. By the time they caught him, they cornered him in a Medellin barrio with his last hitman, and they were both shot and killed. So, after hearing about the life of Pablo Escobar, I'll move on to my summary. Pablo ruled the Medellin cartel structurally but ruthlessly, and he shared his wealth with the people of Medellin. So to his enemies, he was a man that knew no bounds, but to his friends and the people of Medellin, who thought of him as the Paisa Robin Hood, he was someone who they could count on to help them in their times of need. And then I'll show you my audience again. There we go.